What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all?
My future isn't determined by where I currently reside. Understanding your worth will put pride in your stride. I'm accountable to my call. There's no compromise. I set my own bar, and you better know it's set high.
It's giving what it's supposed to give. Ooh, stop playing with them. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of It's a Perspective. It's your girl, Dashari, and I'm glad you're back. Today, we have a special guest. She is a woman who makes tech easier for us all. With 2 engineering degrees from FAMU and UPenn, she's a former system engineer turned media personality from Fox 29 Philly, Cheddar TV network, and currently a technology contributor to ABC News, where she appears regularly on Good Morning America and GMA3. What you need to know. She possesses the ability to help individuals understand technology, helping people become better digital citizens through Till Death Do You Tweet, and breaking down everything tech life through her 60-second tech breaks. Miss Humphrey is also an author of her book titled Don't Let Your Digital Footprint Kick You in the Butt. And recently, TedxSpeaker. She is taking the mystery out of tech and making it relatable. And may I add, an all-around dope individual. Please welcome Miss Stephanie Humphrey.
Yay! So happy to be here. And thank you for that lovely introduction. That was wonderful.
Most definitely, most definitely. How are you today?
I am good. My tooth is better. I know we had a little issue with our original record date. It turns out I am going to need a night guard that I will have to wear as I sleep, which is gonna suck, but I'd like to keep my teeth. So right. We gotta do what we gotta do.
Listen, well, that is great, and I'm glad it's all better. Listen, let's go ahead and get into the fans' favorite part of the show. It's called That's My Jam. This is a segment of the show where you can play a mantra or a song you can't resist jamming, dancing, or singing to. So what you got for us?
We got Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill. I mean, I'm sort of representing Philly, but also this is in my workout playlist, and it never, get me hyped to do that last rep. So gotta go with Meek.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, let's get into it.
Hold up, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished. When I bought the ass tomorrow, y'all thought it was rented. Flexing on these, I'm like Popeye on the spinach.
Yo, that's what's up. I love Dreams and Nightmares. He said, hold on, wait a minute. Y'all thought I was finished.
Right. When I bought that Aston Martin, y'all thought it was rented.
Yeah.
Flexing on these, I'm like Popeye on my spinach. Listen, I have a story. I have to tell you my story about Meek Mill. So Philadelphia has this annual conference called BPHL, and it's trying to sort of, it feels like anyway, it's trying to sort of be like South by Southwest a little bit. It has a very South by Southwest feel. Like the last time we were able to have it in person in the city, like Tracy Ellis Ross was there as an interview, but then there's like tech, and then there's innovation, and then there's actually an African-American astronaut that is from Philadelphia. Oh my God, his name, I'm going to feel so bad now that his name is just, it's right on the tip of my tongue. What is that brother's name? I have a picture with him. But he's an older African-American astronaut. He was from Philly. He was there. So it was just a whole mix of just like South by, arts, entertainment, technology, design, that whole thing. So it's like a multi-day, festival celebration of all of those things in Philadelphia. And Michael Rubin, who I believe is like part owner of the Philadelphia 76ers, and he owns a few businesses. I think he has finally reached billionaire status at this point. Right. He has an organization called Reform that he runs or started with Jay-Z, and I believe Meek Mill is a spokesperson, and it's all about prison reform and getting rid of cash bail and different stuff like that. Right. And he and Meek were supposed to be the opening fireside chat for this BPHL conference in 2019.
Okay.
And they were going to sit and have this conversation. And an organization that I sit on the board of was the sponsor organization for that particular event. So like each little interview or event was sponsored by a different organization. An organization I was on the board of sponsored that particular fireside chat. And at the last minute, Meek couldn't make it.
Okay.
So I was asked as the only media personality on the board to step in and do the interview with Michael Rubin.
Okay.
Again, first thing out the gate, kicking off the whole conference, first day, 8 a.m., the whole nine.
Listen, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, let's do it, But when I get there, it just kind of took over, hip hop kind of took over. And I said, you know what, before we get started, in the spirit of Meek, since he can't be here, right, I just want to say this. I used to pray for times like this, to rhyme like this, because I had to shine like that, the ground like that. I did like the first 16 of Dreams and Nightmares. And I mean, when I tell you the crowd, crazy.
Man, that is crazy. Always.
They are still talking about that to this day. Yes. I just, like I said, I just got inspired. I was like, it's Meek, it's Dreams and Nightmares. Like we gotta show some love.
Man, that is what's up. Listen, that always gets the crowd going.
I'm telling you.
It always does. Yes, that is so good. Okay, well, let's get into it. Who is Stephanie Humphrey?
Whew, that's a great question. I think I'm just a girl that loves to know how things work. I mean, I've always just been that person that was focused on the how. I mean, the whys of things, kind of get very philosophical. I really want to know how things work. I've always wanted to know how things work. So, that curiosity, I'm just a very curious person. And, it's led me down a lot of different paths. It's led me to ask a lot of questions. And I think the same questions that, I ask myself or ask in my head, a lot of people have as well. So I think that's where, I fit into sort of this tech ecosystem, just as that conduit, I think, as that servant, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed with everything that's happening in our culture, in our society, technologically. It's a lot because it's something every day, and it's something different every day, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed with where you fit into this conversation. So I kind of look at myself as just that conduit, if you will, that connects you to what you need to know about technology and our society.
Man, that's great. That is so good. Listen, I have to add, going back to the rap culture, I can see the characters right behind you. I was like, yes, look at those characters. I can see, what's that, Run DMC, Black Panther.
We got Salt and Pepper is on the ledge above them. And then my Black Panther collection is above that. That's my all black shelf, though. All black everything.
Yes. That is so good. And I love that you are the connection and the bridge between tech and those of us who may not understand what or the validity of what technology is. So let's start at the beginning. When did you realize as a Black woman you wanted to be an engineer? Because let's be honest, this is a male-dominated field.
It is, and not just male, white male.
Right.
I think it had always been my intention to do something math or science related. I mean, I was just the smart kid that, made straight A's and was good in math and science. And, again, it just goes back to that idea of problem solving. Like I've always been a problem solver. I won't stop until I figure out how something works or get the answer or put something together. Like I like putting together IKEA furniture for fun. That's the kind of thing that like, I'm like, I love this stuff. So it's just, that's always been who I am at my core, just someone who likes to figure things out. And so it was just sort of understood that I would go into a career that allowed me to do that, and paid me well at the
Right.
same time. So yeah, I got an academic scholarship to Florida A&M University, and that was pretty much it. It's funny, I initially was supposed to I thought I was going to be a computer science major.
Okay.
And when I visited the school in my senior year of high school, I went to the computer science department, talked to the head of the department. I said, I'll see you in the fall. And when I got there, I was informed that my scholarship was only for engineering majors. So
Wow.
it was like, well, what am I going to do? And
Yeah.
so I was like, well, electrical engineering is similar enough to
Hmm.
computer science, even though it's not. But I figured I could do that, because most of the core courses were the same. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So everything I was already registered for that semester, I could just keep. Um, and then I figured I might pick up a coding class or two,
Right.
and maybe minor in computer science. But, with 148 credit hours required for graduation, there was no room for a minor.
Right.
And as I got more into my engineering courses, I loved that just as much as I think I would have loved computer science. So, and I got, plenty of opportunities to code once I graduated and things like that. So I don't know necessarily that I missed anything. I think when I look at sort of the trajectory of my life, it would have probably been different. I think I probably would be running a startup at this point had I stayed in computer science at that time.
Okay.
I think, I would have been one of those early internet startup folks, back in the day or something like that, as opposed to, being in the media and doing the things I'm doing now. But, I'm pretty happy with the way it all turned out.
That's so good. That is so good. And I just think that is so amazing that you went to an HBCU. I am in a HBCU right now currently, so I think that is amazing. So what roadblocks did you experience in engineering and navigating those? How did this help you as you progressed through your career?
It was honestly being at an HBCU removed, I think, a lot of the roadblocks I might have faced
Okay.
as an undergrad, because you didn't have to deal with, a bunch of white people in your
Yeah.
class thinking that you weren't as smart as them, or, you know, a bunch of I mean, we had white professors, don't get me wrong, but to have that other support system, on your campus, because I went to Florida A&M, and if you don't know, our College of Engineering is shared with Florida State. So it's the
Okay.
FAMU FSU College of Engineering.
Okay.
And with it being a joint school, it's not on either campus. So it's in, I guess, just a neutral location. It stands sort of by itself as a building, and students come to that building. So, you did have a little bit of that once you got into that building, but you had enough of your classmates and your friends there. I'm not sure what sort of the ratio was with FAMU versus FSU students. I don't know what it was when I was there, and I'm not sure what it is now, but you felt like you had enough of your, tribe and your allies there with you. And then they were as intentional as they could be, I think, about hiring African American professors as well. I do
Okay.
know that it was, a fairly challenging thing for them to get folks to come there, but when they could, we did have that example to see, to look at, and those people to go to when things were tough and we needed help. And again, if it got too bad, you could always just go back to campus and
Yeah.
talk to the people there, and vibe with the people there, and sort of be recharged by the energy on your campus, to go back and face, those kind of things. Now grad school was was a little different story. That was tough. It was very tough, just because I was working full time by then. So the idea that I'd be doing 40 plus hours a week, and then studying, and then doing homework, and then dealing with racism, and dealing with, students
Man,
that
yeah.
didn't want to be in your group project, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a challenge. But I think, we're black in America. We
Yeah.
know we just kind of have to push through. You find those folks that can help you. There was this one guy that I'm still friends with to this day, the only other black
Right.
person in my program at the time. We held hands and made it through, the struggle. And
That's so
Penn
good.
had a uh kind of a office for black students, black graduate students, and things like that. So you take advantage of what's there and what's available. But then you have to, be intentional about finding like-minded individuals and finding that tribe, and you just push through. You just
Yeah.
persevere. You pray a lot, and you just persevere.
Man, that is so good and so right. May I add, as a college student, pray and you'll make it through.
Prayer, a lot of prayer.
So you stated, quote, "Where's all the hoopla for the ones who may have taken a more traditional path, earning STEM degrees and taking roles at more orthodox companies, but still want to grow, advance, and maybe even go viral in their careers?" End quote. I believe this question is so important because many in the STEM field feel tied to tradition,
Yep.
the tradition of being conventional and secure. Um,
Hmm.
how how can they feel or be celebrated or maybe even go viral in their career?
I think you have to be intentional about being visible. You have to be vocal.
Oh,
I think as engineers,
yeah.
especially, and other STEM professionals, especially if you work in a lab and you're doing research, you're kind of in your little silo and your
Yeah.
little cave, and you don't necessarily take the opportunities that you can to put yourself out there. And traditionally too, if we're keeping it all the way 100,
Uh-huh.
STEM professionals tend to be a bit introverted. They tend to be a little less, outwardly expressive. I'm not sure
Right.
how I made it into this, into this space. But I kind of am. I call myself an extroverted introvert. So,
Right.
I can kind of turn it on when I need to, but then I
Uh-huh.
got to retreat into my little shell and recharge. But, so you have all of those things sort of working against you
Mhm.
in this space, but you have to fight against those things and look for opportunities, especially now where the idea of branding and personal branding is so prevalent and so important to
Right.
everybody's careers. You really can't afford to just sit back in your comfortable cubicle or lab or office and think that that's going to be enough to sort of get you to that next level. Now, if you're not looking to get to the next level, then you're probably okay. But
Right.
if you do want, recognition and promotion and elevation, you're going to have how you can get out in front of people. And whether that means speaking at conferences or writing papers or articles or doing videos or, whatever that looks like, that fits into your comfort level. And maybe you got to push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit
Mhm.
too. But whatever that looks like, visibility is the key to leveling up your career.
Man, that is so good. I know I was experiencing a little bit of delay, but it that's so good. Visibility is the key. And I think that is so good for people to hear, especially in the STEM field, because like you said, we can get trapped inside of our bubble. We can get trapped inside
Mhm.
of what's comfortable and making that environment what's conducive for how we stay in a cycle for however long we stay in that career.
Yep.
So how did you get out of the comfortability of just the cycle of, going to work or going to class or whatever have you in your field and transitioning?
I just I'm not going to say I hated it. I'm not I'm not gonna do that, but I was very, very unfulfilled in my work.
Mm,
I like you said, I was very comfortable at the money I was making, the lifestyle I was able to have because of the job that I had and the work that I did. But I did not love the work itself. I never did, honestly. And I was never really motivated to look elsewhere. Like, everybody's like, well,
Right.
why didn't you leave your job? Because, you might not be able to tell, but I'm a little older than you are probably, and most of your listeners. So, I came up in that first internet wave, that 90s .com boom, and Napster and LimeWire and all those, MySpace and everything else was
Right.
super popular. And a lot of my friends sort of jumped ship from, the company I worked for, which is a very, very traditional Fortune 500 company, to go and work with some of these, the startups of the time, basically. And, I didn't even want to do that. I was just so disillusioned with the space altogether. I was just like, I got to get out of here. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just felt like I had to escape. You know what I mean? Like when
Right.
a wolf gets his paw caught in a trap, and you got to gnaw your paw off to get it. Like that's how I felt. That was the level of I don't want to call it anxiety necessarily, but that was the level of urgency I
Right.
felt
Right. Right.
at my job at that time. Was like, I'm ready to gnaw off my paw to get out of here. And I got an opportunity to be a model in a fashion show. And
Wow.
yeah, a woman I worked out with, a woman I went to the gym with, was the manager of a clothing store in Philadelphia. And you may be familiar with the Dress Barn. It was a pretty popular store back in the day. I don't even know
Uh-huh.
if Dress Barns are around anymore, but she was like, oh, come be in my show. We'll put you in something cute, show you a little stomach off, whatever. And you can get a discount on whatever you buy that night as a thank you for being in
Wow.
the show. So I was like, I get to shop, sign me up.
Right.
And there was a woman there that, because my friend had asked some of her, regular people friends, to come, but then she had a woman that ran a modeling school. So this woman taught runway classes and, posing or whatever they do at modeling schools. She brought some of her students as well. And, she and I got to talking afterwards, and she's like, "Do you model full time professionally? You were so good. Oh my God, you could totally
Wow.
do this, yada, yada, yada." And I was like, "I'm an engineer. What are you talking about? I'm not 6 foot tall. I'm not a size zero. I'm not, blah, blah, what I thought a model was,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, no, no, no. There's all kind of different things you can do in the industry, and yeah, blah, 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 blah. So, it was a little seed that got planted. And I went and had a conversation with her, and just started learning about the business and everything I could do in the business. And the more I learned, the more I was like, that looks interesting. I
Right.
think I could do that. I could be on TV. What you saying? I'd say
Right.
yes. So as I started kind of absorbing, more information about the media space, I was like, I think I might be able to do this. However, it was easily 5-ish years from the day of that fashion show to the day I walked out of my job for good. It was
Wow.
probably 3 to 5 years. I can't remember exactly,
Uh-huh.
but at least 3 years, if not five. So it was definitely a process of just doing more stuff, understanding where I could, make a living in that space, trying to be mindful and respectful of what I was doing already, and finding that balance. And, you get to the point where there is no more balance, and you got to make a choice, and then you put a plan in place to make the transition. So, but it all sort of stemmed from the idea that I just wasn't happy at my job.
Wow. 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 That's so cool. Being able to take that leap of faith after a
Hmm.
while and go for something that may be scary to most, but it's something that you can be proud of and not be frustrated doing. Um,
Hmm.
so I wanted you on this show because if I could be transparent for a moment, you are a more seasoned me at this point. When I look at you, I see myself on the same path that you spoke about, going to school, and I'm stepping into my fifth year. Earning an education in STEM, and potentially, working a 9 to 5. for 10 plus years. But it's individuals like myself who wonder, what's the end game?
Right.
Maneuvering through, what they call the glorified prison systems. But, the difference is I started to already look at my future and question that.
Right.
So my question is, you spent 13 years as a system engineer for a Fortune 500 company, but you've done a complete 180.
Yeah.
What are the steps you took to make that change?
So again, it was very gradual.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, from the first day, from the first time I modeled on a fashion show to the time I, left my badge on my
Right,
manager's desk was a lot of time.
right.
But in that time, you're making connections, you're networking. I had, by the time I left my job, I had two different agents. I had an agent in Philadelphia and an agent in New York.
Okay.
And and thankfully, and I think, most jobs would probably let you do some version of this, but as I started realizing that I didn't want to be there anymore. So I would say that was probably um right about the 2-year mark, when 2 years before I actually walked out of the door was when I was just like, all right, I got to get a plan in place. So
Right.
at that point, I had three things I wanted to do. I refinanced my house
Okay.
because I wanted to separate out my mortgage and my escrow
Mm.
so that I could sort of manage them better. I was like, let me just make sure my mortgage gets paid. We'll
Right.
deal with this escrow, creatively.
Right, right, right.
Because I own a duplex and I have a tenant. So,
Wow.
the rent was paying the mortgage, but
Right.
the escrow was another story. So I was like, let me just separate out so I know that this mortgage is getting paid with this rent, and we'll worry about the escrow later. So we did that. I refinanced my house. I traded in my car to something smaller and more fuel efficient and cheaper, because at the time I was driving a giant SUV and, putting like, $50 worth of gas. At the time, $50 worth of gas was a lot. Now it's not, but $50 worth of gas in the car every week, and just, burning up the miles and all the rest of that. And I was like, well, when I leave this job, I'm gonna need a cheaper car. I'm going to need a better, car that gets better gas mileage. I'm going to be here between here and New York, and yada, yada, yada. So I downsized my car, which, just broke my heart because I loved my truck. And then I had a dollar amount that I wanted to have saved in the bank. They talk about having that 6-month, emergency fund or whatever. I had a
Right.
dollar amount that I wanted to have saved before I would leave that income. So that was what was happening over the process of that 2 years, was me working what I call my 3-point plan.
Right.
But at the same time, because of the flexibility I had at my job, I was able to start cutting my hours back there.
Wow.
They have a very, very generous part-time policy, which I was like, y'all sure y'all want to do this? I was like, I ain't gonna ask no questions.
Right.
Because they at the time, it may not be like this now, but at the time, you could actually cut your hours down there to 20
Wow.
and keep full benefits.
What?
That was the thing. Yes, the benefits, girl, they'll get you every time.
Yeah.
So I started out, I went from 40 to 30.
Okay.
So I was doing, and then they were very, very, they gave you a lot of latitude with how you could craft your hours. So as long as you
Right.
got your hours in, they could sort of happen however made sense for you.
Hmm.
So once I cut down to 30 hours a week, I worked 3 10-hour days a week. So that gave me 2 extra days to, go on auditions and, do my resume and cut out headshots and all the rest of that stuff that I had to
Right.
do. Then I cut down to 24 hours. So I did 3 8-hour days. And then I cut down to 20. And so I did 2 10-hour days. And so I had
Right.
3 days to pursue all my other stuff. And even once I finally left, because I left my job on March like 28th, whatever, the last Friday in March in 2007
Wow.
was my last day at my job. And by then I was working 20 hours, and that month I had reached, my three prong plan was done. The house, the car, the money in the bank was
Yeah.
all done. So it was like, all right, well, it's time to go now. You done executed the plan. You did what you said you was going to do.
Right.
But even then, what I ended up doing was I took a leave of absence because they would let you take up to a year.
Wow.
Yeah, you could take up to a year and come back like nothing ever happened. So I was just like, let me just ease out, in case this
Yeah.
whole TV modeling thing don't work out, let me just ease out and then we'll see.
Wow.
So left in March. I said I'm gonna take the rest of the year basically. So it was about 8 months, basically 9 months.
Uh-huh.
I took a 9 month leave of absence and I was like, if I'm not homeless by the end of the year, then
Yeah.
I will consider myself a working, professional in the media business, entertainment business. And then by the end of December, 2 weeks before the end of the year, I gave my official 2 week notice and never came back.
Wow. That is so huge. I mean, I don't know if you understand the how big that, I don't know. That to me that's super huge. I hope everyone that's listening took down notes. You have to have a plan in
You got to
place.
have a plan. Yep.
It doesn't work without a plan, and making sure that you have all of your T's crossed and your I's dotted. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that, oh man, that is so good and it's so layered and I think it's so good for us college students and those getting into life, for us to
Yeah.
hear that if you aren't in a place where you want to be, taking those actions, just decreasing the expenses. And you talk about having a duplex. That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Having someone who can pay, the mortgage on the house, that's huge.
Yeah.
So keeping those steps and those plans and getting the execution ready before you step out and you do something other than what your career is at the time is huge.
And understanding that it's going to take time. You know what I mean? I think, our culture anymore is very instantaneous, very viral. I want to go viral. I want to blow up and go viral and be a millionaire tomorrow. And life just does not work like that.
Hmm.
For the people who it may have worked out like that for, it's a hundredth of 1%, you know what I mean? And it's a foundation built on sand. So it's like you really want to, take that time to execute fully and prepare yourself and
Yes.
and figure out what you're going to need once you get to that next step. You know what I mean? A
Right.
lot of people want to go viral, but if you went viral tomorrow, then what? You got a website ready to go? What are you talented at? What are you skilled at? Are you ready to
Man.
create content every single day? You know what I
Wow.
mean? So like, are you even prepared for virality or for whatever comes next? So it's that preparation that I think a lot of people want to skip that step and get right to the good part. And it just doesn't work that way.
Man, that's so good. That's actually one of my questions. It's like how, as it relates to social media, I believe that the world is growing to seek instant gratification.
Hmm.
How do you believe that this has impacted careers not only in STEM but in careers like television?
It's tough because, especially in TV, you do, in some instances, you are expected to come with a built-in following,
Mm.
unfortunately. And sometimes, having a following doesn't necessarily equate to having talent. So we see a
Yeah.
lot of people
Yeah.
on television that, don't necessarily have the requisite tools and the training and the experience and haven't done the work to be in the position that they're in, and then we all laugh and revel when they crash and burn or get canceled for something that they didn't know any better about in the first place. So I would love for it, and I don't know that we'll go back to it. I hope we do, but I would love for um television, entertainment media especially, not to be so dependent on clicks, not to be so dependent on the numbers, on the followers,
Right.
on the engagement, and really, sort of hone in on people that are doing the work. Tell a story all the time about, how I became tech, and it was in my TEDx as well.
Hmm.
I was acting and modeling and, doing a whole bunch of different stuff and in the entertainment industry, and was having some modicum of success. Once I decided to flip back to tech, everybody was like, so I was like, I was on TV already. I used to be here, but now I do tech, and put me back on TV. And everybody and people were like, no, we don't know you. You know what I mean?
Wow.
What kind of expert are you? How do we know that you have any sort of experience in this? And even me saying I have 2 engineering degrees didn't make a difference.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I had took a step back, thought about, looked at the people on TV that were talking about technology. I was like, what is it about them? Why do they get to do this?
Right.
It was the writer from Mashable, the writer from TechCrunch, the tech writer for the New York Times,
Right.
they were all in that space already in some capacity,
Uh-huh.
and then they got to go on TV and give their expert opinion and whatever. I was like, oh, so that's what we doing. So that's what I did. I started my own blog, and then I was able to write for The Root, and then I was able to write for Ebony, and then I was able to get on TV as a tech expert. So it's like, we can't skip steps. Social
Yeah.
media lets people skip steps. And because you've crafted this image, this brand, whatever you want it to be is what you say it is what it is.
Right.
But there may not necessarily be anything behind it. Again, it may be a brand built on a sand foundation, and you don't know until it collapses, and
Right.
nobody knows until it collapses. But I hope that we can get back to a place where you know the foundation matters and counts for something.
Do you believe we're missing a lot of the good people that need to be at the forefront because of the clicks and because of the, shall I say, viral moments?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there are tons of good people out there that will never get a shot and will never get looked at because they're not doing things specifically to cultivate a following. They're I mean, I look at myself, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I'm on television and verified on social media, but I only have 14,000 Instagram followers. I don't have a million Instagram followers. And Twitter is even less, and Facebook is even less than that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a function of me, you know, being intentional about the type of information I put out there. you
Hmm.
know I could post a selfie every day and have 250,000 followers tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Because I see that in how it works. It's like when I put a video up here telling you how to do something and change this privacy setting because they're taking your data,
Yeah.
that gets 2 views. But when I post the selfie, when I had my makeup done that day and was particularly, fetching, that's getting all the engagement. So I know what works. I know what
Right.
I could do, if that was, and I apologize for that siren you hear.
No,
I
you're
know what
fine.
I could be doing if just getting a following was my objective, but that's not my objective. My objective is education,
Hmm.
and the people, and I want the people that find me and follow me to do so because they get something out of the content that I produce,
Yeah.
and they care about the content I produce. So, it's just going to take, like I said, it's just going to take a little longer
Yeah.
because, it's not a foundation that is built on sand.
Man, that is so good. That is so good. It's not a foundation that's built on sand. You guys, make sure that your foundation is not built on sand. Build it on solid
Amen.
ground. Build it on, concrete, something else but sand, so that we don't collapse or go into something called quicksand.
Mm, that part.
So you've transitioned into being the tech life expert. Why did you feel it was important to break the barriers of understanding technology and changing the way we view our brand?
I think you saw it happen. Once that iPhone came out, that was it. Everybody was on their phones, um, but it was just a tidal wave, I think, of functionality, if you will, just
Yeah.
as it relates to technology. All of a sudden, we could do all these things in the
Mm,
palm of our hands,
right.
and it just became it really did become overwhelming. I talked to my friends, I talked to my parents, just people in general, like how do I don't know. And then you start, and then here comes social media, and
Yeah.
now the parents are completely overwhelmed because the kids just automatically know how to do all these things, and they feel left behind. So there was just a void there, I think, um of people that actually wanted to help. I felt like, at the time, the Mashables and the Tech Crunches of the world were very enamored of startup culture. That was, and now this is, post 90s internet, and now we're at Facebook and Twitter, and these startups that are, about to become unicorns, and they're right on the cusp of greatness, and
Right.
those very popular and prominent tech blogs at least seem to be, you know, solely concerned with who raised a series A this week, and who got, VC money, and what was coming out of the valley, and what's the latest word from Andreessen Horowitz, and the average person doesn't know about any of that and doesn't care. They
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
They just want to know, like, how am I going to save some money with this thing in my hand, this little gadget thing
Yeah.
that I don't really even know how to use all the way. So how am I saving money with this? What am I doing on my laptop to keep viruses from infecting my computer? How am I going to keep my kids, off of Facebook and putting nude pictures all over the internet and stuff like that? So,
Right.
it just didn't feel like, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't that no one was doing it, but it just didn't feel like anybody had a loud and prominent enough voice, and there definitely wasn't enough people that looked like me doing it.
Right.
So it was just like, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can make a place in this ecosystem for me. And it was just a matter of will and perseverance, and that was it.
Super important, may I add, because people do need that information, and I think it's going to be more needed as we progress with technology because it's starting to
Yes.
to blow up, and um,
The
that leads
metaverse
me.
is coming.
Yeah, man, that is a whole another show because man, that's something that definitely needs to be discussed. But
Mhm.
from your perspective, how has technology changed the world? From the pandemic, making everyone resort to being more tech based, to Elon Musk acquiring Twitter, one of the
Yeah.
biggest social network platforms.
I don't think that's gonna happen, by the way. The deal has still not gone through. They're still
Okay.
waiting he wants verification of the number of bots and fake accounts on Twitter. And I don't think he's gonna be happy with any number that Twitter gives him. I honestly, personally, don't think he ever really wanted to buy Twitter. I think he
Uh,
wanted to try to force Twitter into doing some things that he wanted them to do,
right.
as far as moderation, content moderation, the edit button, and different things like that. I think he wanted to try to force their hand, and thought they might hurry up and make these changes before he actually had to take possession of the company. I feel like this whole, I need to make sure that the number of fake users is not, I think that's just an excuse for him to back out of this deal. I don't think we're going to see this deal go through, but we'll see. Um,
Man.
yeah, but technology has, it's connected us in a way that we were never able to be connected before. It's propagated information across the globe in a way that it's never been able to be propagated before. So, it's literally revolutionized the way we learn, the way we communicate, the way we date. It's revolutionized kind of the way we do everything. I
Right.
mean, honestly, like, think about something that you have to do tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to use a tech solution most likely to do it, or you could,
Yeah.
for anything that you need to do. There's probably a tech solution that could do it, even if it's just a matter of um, googling something on the internet, like before we had to call people or look in the phone book or, whatever. So it is absolutely revolutionized the way we live our lives completely. But that's not necessarily a good thing all the time.
Right.
I think with the amount of misinformation that's out there, with the way that people are able to um, sink to the lowest common denominator instantaneously,
Hmm.
that's a problem, especially for young people, and the way that you can bully someone now, in a way that you couldn't before. So it's been society's biggest blessing and biggest curse at the same time.
Yes, that is so true. It's funny. I was having a conversation with my dad. I think this was yesterday. He was like, back then they had to send word. Now we just send a text message.
It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And it's like we love all the conveniences, but they've come at a cost. They've absolutely come at a cost.
Yes, they have. So from your 60-second tech breaks till death do you tweet, what is the common misconception that individuals have or are having about navigating technology and social media?
That their presence on it doesn't matter. I think people think that they can use the internet anonymously and without consequence, and that's just not true. You can do, there are things you can do. Obviously, you can, use a VPN or, be on the dark web or whatever to kind of conceal your identity. But the average person's not doing that. I'm talking about the average person that just logs on for whatever reason, business, work, pleasure, whatever. They think that their presence on the internet doesn't matter, and they're wrong.
Right, right,
Your digital footprint is a thing. It is absolutely a thing, and it's so important, and people just don't even realize how deep the rabbit hole goes. Like, I was at an event the other day, and there was a company. I sit on the board of an organization that brings tech companies and venture capital and stuff together in the Philadelphia region. And we were at our award show, and there was one of the companies that had been nominated for one of the awards, was a company that tracked the metrics for insurance companies. So
okay,
say that you're filling out a insurance application,
okay,
or like filing a claim. Like, say you claimed you were in a car accident and you're filling out this claim, and you hover around the amount of damages you want to claim. You know
right,
what I mean? Like, you sit there, like, you don't fill that in right away. Like they're tracking that you filled in your name and your, address and all that stuff. And that took the normal amount of time that it should take. But when you get to the point where you're filling, where it's like, how much are you claiming was damaged or whatever, you hesitate.
right,
And then you put a number in, like, maybe there's a drop down menu and it's like, 0 to 10,000 or da 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 da, and you pick one, and then you keep going, but then you go back up and you change it to something higher.
wow,
They've tracked that,
right,
and they're going to give that information to that insurance company to investigate as potential fraud,
mm,
because you changed it. But first of all, you took too long to answer, because you sat there and you looked at those options on that drop down, and you was thinking, what should I put? Do I think I can get a little bit more money for this car, even though it was only worth
right,
10,000? Maybe I can get 20 out of them. You sat there and thought about that, and you put a number that you felt comfortable with and was probably the honest number. But then you started, filling out some more stuff. You was like, well, maybe I could go and tell them that, the bumper fell off too and get another $5,000. You know what I mean? So you scroll
right,
back up
right.
and you change that number. They've tracked all of that data.
Wow,
That's what this company does, that was at this event I was at. They track all of that sort of, interaction and engagement with websites and give it back to companies. So I say all that to say the idea that your digital footprint doesn't matter is just false. You know what I mean? Because this is the level of granularity they're using now to track literally everything you do. Facebook's been
wow,
been keeping been saving the stuff you delete for years.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get on and you get an angry rant going and you're commenting on somebody's thing and then blah, and then you decide, well, you know what? That's not very nice. That's not a very nice thing to say, or that may be considered a threat to somebody or whatever. And you just, backspace to delete all of it. They've already saved that and they're
Wow.
going to save it. You know what I'm saying? So, we need to understand that every single thing we
Yeah.
do on the internet is a data point
Yeah.
that can be saved and that can be sold. Every
Wow.
single thing we do. You know what I mean? The speed at which you scroll on TikTok and Instagram. So you're scrolling. I don't like that. I don't want to. I don't like her. No way. I don't want to see her post. But then you slow down on something and you read. Then you, oh, that's interesting. That's a data point.
Wow.
So we really have to understand that literally every single thing, the way we interact with our phones and with the internet, every single thing we do that relates to the internet is a data point that can be sold and can potentially be used against you. So it's just
Yeah.
something to think about. I mean, you don't want to necessarily have to live your life worrying about how fast you filled out an insurance, form.
Right.
However, you need to be mindful that this is something that is a data point that could be sold, that could be used against you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't think enough people give enough weight to that idea,
Mm-hmm.
and because most people aren't trying to scam anybody or aren't trying to do bad things or whatever, but when the potential is there to track every bit of your activity on a particular medium like the internet, what does that say for our future and how we may be able to be controlled or manipulated or policed or
Right.
monitored via this medium? So it's just something to think about because I think we're going to see going forward, especially like facial recognition and everything else. It's going to look a lot, society's going to look a lot different
Yeah.
in the coming years, so we just need to be prepared for it.
That is so true. I think you posted something the other day where, a post that you made on your story was like 100 and something weeks old, and
Right.
someone was able to like it.
Like, where they do that at? This is supposed to last 24 hours and go away. Like, how are you
Yeah.
bringing this back up? So little stuff like that, you know what I mean? Just how much data that we give away, how it gets stored, how it can be used. It's just we are just at the tip of the iceberg with that right now. We really are.
Yes. Man, it's scary and it's information
Mhm.
that we all need to know.
That's
But
right.
listen, take your social media or your digital footprint very seriously.
That's right.
So you've had tons of success in your journey through your career. What is one thing that engineering?
Tons.
I'd say.
Tons seems strong, but okay, I receive it.
Well,
I feel like
being
I've had some success.
listen, I think that some success is, well, I'd say it's relative because for me, when I'm looking from outside looking in, it looks like you've had a lot of success. But you
Well,
you
thank
you knowing yourself, you know what it took to get there. You know the hoops and the hurdles that you had to jump. So, um, listen, I want to encourage you and allow you to know that it's tons.
I received that. I
Yes,
received that.
yes. What is one thing that engineering, acting, being a TV personality, an online presence, and tech life expert taught you? What's like one
Um,
one cohesive thing that all of those things has taught you?
wow, that's a great question. Like, what have I learned? I think from all of that, just to never give up. Honestly, it sounds so cliche and so basic, but honestly, like you really don't win. There is no actual formula
Mm.
for success. I reject anybody's notion that this, and a lot of people are making a lot of money on these internets, on Al Gore's internet,
Yes.
trying to sell you the formula for success. They'll tell you that buy my course, and if you follow these 5 steps, you will be successful. And maybe you will, and maybe you won't. And you know, there are a lot of books been written. There are tons of motivational speakers. Tony Robbins has built an entire career
Yes.
on formulas for success. But I would reject that notion and say that the only way to be successful is to never quit.
Wow.
You know, you can do a lot of different stuff. You can follow that 5-step, you know, $1,000 class you bought, but you still have to work at it, and you still have to work at it until it works. You know, it's probably not going to work the first time out. You know, you got to try it again and try, well, man, I got to, you know, you got to pivot. You got to think about, well, let me regroup and, you know, hit it from this angle. Like, that literally is the, you know, my journey is not going to be the same as your journey, is not going to be the same as someone else's journey. I can sit here and talk all day about, you know, my 3-pronged plan of saving money and refinancing mortgages and everything else, but somebody may not take that path, and that may not even apply. It may not even be relevant for them. You know, but all I can tell you that I did do throughout this entire process, the only thing I actually, you know, did do in the midst of all of the activity that was happening was not quit. You know, because there were plenty of times where I was like, okay, I don't think this shit is working. Maybe I should just go back and get a job, or maybe I should just, you know, when I got to QVC, I worked for HP as the spokesperson on QVC for 2 years. And when I got that job, you know, I kind of felt like, wow, okay, I can breathe again. You know, I got direct deposit again, and I got some health care, and I'm making good money, and I'm on TV, you know, regularly, and you know, all this pursuit of, you know, because this was actually right before I got on national television. So I had been trying to get to national television. I had been doing Fox 29 in Philadelphia, you know, for a while at that point. And I had been trying and trying and trying and trying to get up to that next level and get on national TV. And it just wasn't happening at the time for whatever reason. So when I got that job with HP, I was like, bet, you know, it's QVC. It's technically national television, you know what I mean? And so, you know, I sort of exhaled, and may have just stayed there forever. You know, I could still be working there now, you know, if I was so inclined. But you know, my goal was always to be on a nationally syndicated daytime television show, you know? And so I couldn't give that up and just settle, you know, for a 6-figure job on QVC. As great as it was. And I mean, you know, it was great, but I that wasn't my goal. That wasn't my ultimate goal. So I couldn't settle for that. And so, you know, like I said, just in everything that I've been able to do, the only commonality that runs through all of it is that I didn't stop going.
Man, that's it. Don't stop. Don't quit.
I wish I had some other sort of, you know what I mean? We can talk all day about the importance of prayer and the importance of mentors and the importance of, you know, your personal board of directors, as they always come up. We can talk all day about all of those things, and they are all important, and they all help, and they all, I can say that they've all contributed to my success. Absolutely. However, you know, the only reason that I've been able to do what I've been able to do is because I just didn't stop.
That's so good. I think that's the common thread. And you talked about, you know, cliche things. I think it's important to hear those, because if we don't take it in, if we don't drink it in, how will we, you know, have new topics to talk about? Not stopping is the foundation, like we talked about, not being on sand, not stopping, you know, pushing through the barriers and the things that you
That's
have to
right.
go through. So that is so good. I
And
appreciate
things
that.
are cliches for a reason. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
cliches because everybody says them. So, you know, everybody can't be wrong.
Man, listen, tell them again. Everybody can be wrong. You got to listen at some point and not to
Yes.
stop. Listen, don't stop. So we're wrapping up here, but on this show, I like to talk a lot about passion and purpose. How do
Mhm.
you feel you differentiate the two? Because you have what most people deem as success. Listen, at least for me.
Like I said,
Um,
I'm receiving it. It's all good.
yes. With so how do you differentiate the two?
I think passion is um I want it can be fleeting. You can be passionate about a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Passion is sand, honestly. Purpose is stone.
Mm,
So, passion comes and goes. It's like, all right, I'm passionate about this. I'm very passionate. But what happens when you're not passionate about it anymore? Does it go away? Do you stop doing it? Do you stop serving? But purpose is foundational. Purpose is foundational. My purpose is to serve, and I choose to serve by helping people understand technology. That's my gift. So my talent is helping people understand technology. So I choose to serve. And so you do that whether you want to or not. You know what I mean? I create content when I don't feel like creating content all the time.
right.
I post videos when I don't necessarily feel like posting. You know what I mean? Like, you get a little tired, you get burnt out, and don't get me wrong. When you get to moments where you need to take a break, definitely take a break. Self
Right.
care is real, but this is not something that. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, today I think I want to be a sheep herder. You know what I mean? Like it passion is whim. You can fall to whim when you're only chasing the things that you're passionate about. Now
Right.
you hope that your passion and your purpose align, and for me, thankfully they do. I'm very passionate about helping people understand technology, and that is part of what keeps me going.
Mm-hmm.
But that can't be the only thing because it's not sustainable. So you have to figure out what you really care about enough to do when you don't feel so passionate about it.
Yes, that's so good. When passion flies out the window, what can you sit there and say, hmm, this is what my purpose is. This is what my
That's it.
my gift is.
That's
That's
it.
so
Passion burns out sometimes.
yeah, yeah, that's so good. So what's next for you?
So, I do have a podcast that I'm
Yay!
pretty happy with. It's called the Tech John. Speaking of QVC, I may actually be doing some content creation for them, sort of in a
Wow.
more influencer capacity coming up on their streaming channel. They're launching they have a streaming channel in addition to the channels they have on television. They have a streaming channel, so I'll be doing some content for them for that. Um, I am working on a college tour for Till Death Do You Tweet for the fall,
Okay.
and starting to kick around what a second book looks like.
Wow. Listen, and then you want to tell me that you don't have tons? That is so much, and that is so great. Listen, big ups to you. Um, in all that you do. How can people follow you?
All around the web at Tech Life Steph. Feel free to send me a DM or anything. Just shout me out.
That's great. If you could leave my listeners with one thing, what would it be?
Hang in there. It's going to be hard. Expect it to be hard. But understand that you only win if you don't quit.
That's it. That
And
is
and
it.
and be prepared to do the work. That's it.
Ex-
It's about the work at the
expect
end of
it
the
to be
day.
hard and
Mhm.
do the work to get there.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
it. Thank you so much, Miss Stephanie, for coming on It's a Perspective. I can't wait for all that you have in store. And everyone, please stay connected with Miss Humphrey because, listen, this is only the beginning for her. And all I have to say is, Miss Tech Life Steph,
Ow.
keep your perspective because it definitely looks good on you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a pleasure.
Thank you so